Hello and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'll be reading about the Nissan Skyline R32. So let's begin. So the Skyline, the R32 Skyline was built between 1989 and 1993. Okay, now here goes. The R32 Skyline debuted in 1989. It was available as either a two-door coupe or a four-door hardtop sedan. All other body styles were dropped. The R32 featured several versions of the RB series straight-six engines, which had improved heads. The 12-port inlet was gone and used the ECCS, which stands for Electronically Concentrated Control System Injection System. Also available was an 1800, a 1.8 litre four-cylinder GXI model. Most models had high-cast four-wheel steering, with the rear wheels being hydraulically linked to the front steering. The 2.5 litre GTS 25 became one of the first Japanese production cars to feature a 5-speed automatic transmission. The GTS-T came in standard and Type M configurations, with the M-Type, with the Type M having larger 5-stud 16-inch wheels, 4-piston front calipers and twin-piston rears, plus other minor differences. ABS was optional except for the GTR and GTS4. Mechanical LSD was standard on the GTR, and viscous LSD was standard on all turbo models and optional on all but the GXI model. Nissan also produced 100 Australian models of the R32. In addition, there was a four-wheel drive version of the GTS-T Type M, also called the GTS4. The generation was considered a compact under Japanese legislation that determined the amount of tax liability based on exterior dimensions. The smaller engines were offered so as to provide Japanese buyers the ability to choose which annual road tax obligation they were willing to pay. The station wagon body style was discontinued and would not see a replacement, the Stagia or Stagia, until 1996, by which point the R33 had arrived. The R32 was first produced in 1988, including prototype cars. The first 6 Nismos were built in 1989. The other 554 Nismo GTRs were also built in 1990 and were all gunmetal grey in colour. The RB26 DETT engine actually produced 320 horsepower, but it was understated due to the Japanese car maker's gentleman's agreement not to exceed 280 horsepower. The R32 was first produced in 1988, including prototype cars. The first 6 Nismos were built in 1989. The other 554 Nismo GTRs were also built in 1990 and were all gunmetal grey in colour. The RB26 DETT engine actually produced 320 horsepower, but it was understated due to the Japanese car maker's gentleman's agreement not to exceed 280 horsepower. The engine was designed for 500 horsepower in racing trim and then muzzled by the exhaust boost restriction and ECU. After this increase, the car would put out 310 horsepower and could do 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds and a quarter mile in 12.8 seconds. The GTR had a significantly larger intercooler, larger brakes and aluminium front guards and hood. Other distinguishing features include flared front and rear wheel arches, more supportive seats were fitted, and the turbo boost gauge and digital clock were removed from inside the instrument cluster. The clock was replaced with a torque meter that indicated how much torque was being delivered to the front wheels, 0% to 50%. Oil temp, voltage and turbo boost gauges were fitted just above the climate control. The Porsche 959 was Nissan's target when designing the GTR. The chief engineer, Naganori Ito, intended to use the car for Group A racing, so the design specification was drawn up in conjunction with a copy of the Group A rules. The no-slip production car record at the time of development was 8 minutes and 45 seconds, set by the Porsche 944. Nissan test driver Hiroyoshi Kato reset the record with a time of 8 minutes and 20 seconds. Best motoring managed 8 minutes 22 seconds and 38 milliseconds. The R32 GTR dominated Japanese touring car championship, winning 29 races from 29 starts, taking the series title every year from 1989 to 1993. It took 50 races from 50 starts from 1991 to 97, latterly R33 in the N1 Super Type U. The R32 GTR was introduced into the Australian Touring Car Championship in 1990 and prompted ending the reign of the previously all-conquering Ford Sierra Cosworth, winning Bathurst 1000 Classic in 91 and 92. This success led to the Australian motoring press nicknaming the car Godzilla due to it being a monster from Japan. As Australia was the first export market for the car, the name quickly spread. Such was the GTR's dominance, and it was a significant factor in the demise of the Group A touring car racing, the formula being scrapped soon after. JTCC was similarly blighted by the R32 GTR and splintered soon after. leading to the switch to the Super Touring category and also indirectly to the GT500 category of today. When originally designed, the homologation rulebook mandated 16-inch wheels, so that's what the GTR got. This limited the size of the brakes, and 4-piston calipers used by the Nissan were not competitive. After the rules changed to allow 17-inch wheels, the GTR V-Spec for victory emerged in February '93 wearing 17-inch BBS mesh wheels covering larger Brembo calipers. The clutch actuation changed from a push to a pull system, and the car had a standard mechanical rear differential. The electronic rear differential did not show up until the R33 V-Spec. A year later, the V-Spec 2 appeared with a new sticker and wider tyres. The Nissan Skyline GTR is a limited 500 street and 60 racing versions of the Nissan Skyline with a Nissan RB engine with twin steel turbochargers rated at 280 horsepower and 260 foot-pounds of torque, all-wheel steering, electronically controlled all-wheel drive. In August 2014, the first R32 Skyline GTRs became eligible for US import under the NHTSA 25-year rule, which allows vehicles that are at least 25 years old to the month of manufacture to be imported. These vehicles, due to their age, do not have to comply with federal emissions or with federal motor vehicle safety standards. So that is the brief history of the Nissan Skyline R32, and in the next video I'll be talking about the R33. So tune in for that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.